Hello and welcome to Cinema Savvy for a brand new movie review. It's myself, George, and tonight I am going solo for a quick review on the latest film starring Harrison Ford, not Star Wars Rise of Skywalker or Indiana Jones 5 just yet. This is The Call of the Wild. This is a film that you may have heard of a book. I certainly hadn't, but this is an, quote, adventure film starring Harrison Ford playing this old hermit and his hairy companion, which isn't Chewbacca. And it's not even a real dog. It's a motion captured man, which is the most terrifying behind the scenes footage you may have ever seen. It's also the most desirable footage to see Harrison Ford reacting to outtakes if they ever see the light of day. But no, I'm not here to talk about motion capture, not just yet. I'm going to give a quick review of the film. So, in theory, this film is about a dog that goes on a journey. It is basically Warhorse. I don't mean that in the criticism. This is an adaptation of an old book. And it's I think, second time it's made into a film. There was one in the 1930s. The book was published in 1903. Obviously, it's a lot older than Warhorse, but going into it straight away, that was a very hard image to get out of my head. I'm going to go into Gargantuan rather than talk about the story because we're going to keep it spoiler-free. I mentioned it's like Warhorse. It goes on an adventure. It's about a dog that gets taken from his home, and it's about how he basically ends up in the wild, hence the name The Call of the Wild. He has multiple owners throughout, and he eventually settles down with Harrison Ford, as you may have guessed by being on all the posters. However, it's not the fun, charismatic Disney experience that you may be used to. No, this was one of the final films that 20th Century Fox, brackets now 20th Century Studios, ever put in production. This had a budget of $150 million, which is a lot for a film, and it's not all Harrison Ford's wages. There's a lot of CGI, and if you haven't heard much about this, that's probably because the biggest criticism is the fact that the main character of the dog is CGI. Now, I'm not going to criticize having a dog as the main character. Lion King was a thing. Jungle Book worked well. The other Jungle Book didn't work so well, but we're in this era of technology now where animals can be main actors. Motion capture's the best it's ever been. Andy Serkis recently won sort of like a lifetime BAFTA, which also says a lot. And the issue with this is that the CGI on the dog is very noticeable. It's not as bad as The Lion King, as in the Andy Serkis directed Lion King, and it's nowhere near the quality of Jungle Book and Lion King. It's this kind of unfortunate middle ground, and I know this sounds quite nasty. I don't like to criticize CGI too much because, these are people that are paid. Well, if you look into the CGI industry, you get stuff like Cats and they end up sacking all the staff after, and who are probably understaffed anyway. But when the main character is a dog, it's hard to shake in this sort of 2020, this decade we're in now, that sort of, it looks like 15, 20 years ago, it's not going to age well. And the real sad thing about that is that Disney bought Fox. Now, obviously, they bought them after this had started filming. Previs would have been done and everything. Had this have been out in 2 years' time or 1 year's time, this had been a Disney project from the get-go. I think this would have been as good as The Lion King in terms of the CGI, and I think that would have gone a big way in not only making this film a hit, because financially, I'll discuss that in a short while. It's Uncanny Valley. It can take you out of the film. At moments, there's one or two dogs that look phenomenal in it, and then you get ones like this. The lead actor. It's sad because the lead dog. Sorry, it's not going to win the Palm Dog because it's not a real dog, and it does take you out the film, not knowing that it's not real, but it's the main character, and you can't see past the fact that this is awful CGI at times. And there's a real sad thing about that because Harrison Ford gives one of his best performances in quite a while now. I'm not going to sit here jump on the stars bandwagon. I loved him in episode 7. The cameo in 9 was one of my favourite scenes of the new trilogy. I didn't expect it, and I think Harrison Ford is a very good actor, and of course he will always be Han Solo Indiana Jones. That's what he'll be known for, and Blade Runner. And I think he has great performances in him, and this is one where I thought he was really, really good. He had this sort of human side to him, a vulnerable character, and having this companion of the dog, it just throws you off. Okay, everyone's calling the Harrison Ford and dog film, which it kind of is, but it must be hard for him to give such a good performance opposite a bloke pretending to be a dog in motion capture. And he nails it. There's scenes of himself crying and stuff, and he's got this sort of very reserved, calm approach that it's not a grumpy old Harrison Ford. It's the opposite. This is this really likable guy that's going out of his way to help this dog on its journey. That's kind of most I can say about that plot. And as a sort of companion piece, as someone that's had dogs in the past as well, it isn't a Marley in me, so you don't need to worry about anything to that level of emotion and, well, just tears. This is very different. This is an adventure film. And it has that vibe to, I previously mentioned, Warhorse. It's a similar journey, multiple owners. How do you settle down in the end? How do you reach that final point? Are you invested in the way? Well, I was invested to a point. It wasn't perfect, but I'm not going to sit here and slate it and say it's awful. It's not awful at all. Just very average. They're ultimately came across as a kids' film that's been marketed at adults because adults know who Harrison Ford is, putting it politely. I think that this is a film that suffered due to the Disney takeover. It's not moaning about Disney taking over. That's caught in this middle ground of 20th Century Fox knew they were selling themselves to Disney. And this being stuck in the middle again, had this been released in 2 years' time, this would have been kind of not the perfect Disney film, but the CGI would have been perfect. It's all shot in studios. Look at what Mandalorian done with this new sort of VR technology for filming them. So that's going to radicalize film, I think, over the next 5 years. But it's really noticeable, the CGI. You can tell they're on sets, they're not on location. It looks quite cheap at times when you've got these sort of overly colourful costumes of randomers in the streets, and then you've got the sort of the backdrop of the snow, and it's obvious CGI snow. And the scenes of fires where it looks like it's sort of something that students admit to university. The CGI really lets this film down, and I think that's put a lot of people off watching it. It's a very quiet time at the box office. Birds of Prey has done fine financially, but it's not been a hit. It's just done okay. You've got the new horror film, which I've forgotten the name of, which I haven't seen it, The Invisible Man. That is meant to be incredible. That's a low budget. That's doing well. Sonic's made a lot of money, and that's a film that delayed itself to focus on sorting out its CGI issues. I've not seen Sonic. We haven't reviewed it, obviously, but the trailer looks a lot better seeing it with proper CGI than that awful attempt from a year ago, and sometimes you've got to give them that credit. So, a CGI is a big talking point of this film, and that's because the film relies on it, and unfortunately, its over-reliance on not unfinished, but its over-reliance on outdated technology really hasn't helped it, which is a shame because, as I mentioned, Harrison Ford gives a great performance. Some other people in this, Dan Stevens, just popped up, had no idea what happened with him. Had Karen Gillan pop up as well. Didn't see her in any trailers or in anything. Omar Sy was very good in it. He had some scenes. But ultimately, this is a film against this. You don't even need to go to the cinema. This will be on, I guess, Disney Plus. This is going to be on Disney Plus in a couple of months. Do not need to rush to the cinema to watch this. It's a pleasant experience. It's nothing more than that. It's not switch your brain off and not think, but also you can't really get drawn into the stakes too much because it's very painted by the numbers. You know where it's going to go. Moments when there are like dogs fighting, and it's like you can just picture some like WWE commentary over the top. It looks silly at times. So it's not perfect. It's not bad. It's this sort of above average sort of boring film. I didn't mind it. I had a good time watching it. I'm a dog lover. If you don't like dogs, you definitely won't like it. But that's the most I can say. I didn't notice much from the soundtrack. I've already moaned about the technology, and box office wise, again, $150 million budget for this. This is the kind of film that should cost sort of 60, 70, pay a bit more, go out on those sets. But no, it was, let's do all this in the studio, add CGI in after, which becomes very expensive and it gets outdated very quickly. I'm not saying this needed to be The Revenant and film in a forest for 3 months, but certainly it could have been a lot better than a sort of studio backlot in LA. And I think that's really let this film down. And I think this is why this will ultimately be one of those forgetful films that people don't go back to. People calling it a box office bomb. It's going to make a loss of sort of 50 million. It's on 80 million now. It's made 150, but you've got to double that budget to start making money. And they're not going to get that. I hope it holds well. I'd like it to do well, but unfortunately, it's not going to. The CGI is just too disruptive for this. And that is everything I'm going to be able to say about this. I don't have much to say. Again, if you're watching it for a great Harrison Ford performance, you're going to get it. He's done it as much as you think he is. If you're watching it because you love dogs, you will like bits of this, but the CGI will put you off, especially compared to films such as Lion King. And this is a film that looks like it came out in 2005, hitting cinemas in 2020. That's the nicest way of putting it. And that's the final thing I'm going to say about The Call of the Wild. In the meantime, now I've kind of finished my sort of mini rant review type thing. I'm going to use this to post up our social media, as we always do. So if you want to follow us on Facebook, go to facebook.com/cinemasavvy. If you want to see us on Twitter, go to @cinema_savvy, and on Instagram @cinema_savvy. We are going to be back reviewing Onward, we hope, this weekend. I've already seen it. Got a lot to say on that, having not seen a single trailer of the film. That's going to be very interesting. Original Pixar films are often some of the best films you get to watch. So I'm looking forward to reviewing that. We've got some other stuff coming out over the next few weeks. Coronavirus hasn't scared us away from doing anything, so we do not need to worry about that. And of course, there's a little matter of James Bond coming out on the 2nd of April. So stick with us. We're entering that time where the film's going to get busier. There's going to be more films coming out. We'll have you covered. In the meantime, take care. Thank you all for watching.